radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. How you doing? How you doing? Today is Monday, January 14th, 2019. Just 14 days into the new year, 351 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planets. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Kicking off another week here on the show. An amazing week we've got lined up in front of us. I don't know how we topped last week or last month, but we're going to do it this week. Because tonight, Monday, kicking it off with very special guest Chad Callek is here. We're going to talk about his new documentary, Two-Face the Gray. That is tonight. Tomorrow night, Linda Moulton Howe is here. We're going to go through all of the latest from Earth Files. We're going to talk about 2018 and all of the research that she is currently working on and looking forward into 2019 and disclosure. All of that is going on tomorrow night. Wednesday night, Dr. Robert Schoch. Yeah. So how do you like that, kiddies? Right? Chad Callek, Linda Moulton Howe, Robert Schoch, nothing but the best here on Fade to Black. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. And so you know what that means. It's open lines all night. So great week lined up in front of us. Heading into this weekend, Saturday. Okay, let me get everything situated here. In that Saturday, Rita and I are at a wedding with the family, so we've got to go do that. One of our family members is getting married. That's all exciting, and that'll be Saturday. But I do want to remind everybody, Sunday we will be at the Crystal Matrix, and I will give you all of the information that you need for that in just a bit. All right. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do, at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox where all the action goes down. Thank you, everybody, with all of the dancing tweets. Everything is kicking off as normal on this Monday. If you want to see what 1,000 tweets looks like in a night, or 2,000 tweets, just go to hashtag F2B. It's insanity what goes on in Twitter in real time during this show. Hashtag F2B, hashtag F2B everything, so you can get in on the conversation. We use TweetDeck, by the way. TweetDeck is an official Twitter product. Get TweetDeck, download it, get it installed into your browser. You will be so happy that you did. In fact, I don't even use normal Twitter. I don't go to normal Twitter. I just don't do it. There's no reason for it. Once you have TweetDeck and you explore that, you'll never go back. You will never go back. And as a matter of fact, as I say these words, I guarantee you everybody's going to start screenshotting their custom TweetDeck page. I use 4 columns. I've got my normal notifications. Then I have hashtag F2B. Normal notifications being me, right? So I have me in the first column. I've got hashtag F2B in the second, hashtag F2B in the third, and the fourth column is Rita, right? So I've got all of that right in front of me, and they click. And so I have 4 columns. Some of you are very proud with your 7, 8, 9, 10 columns, and I get why you do that, but they load automatically. So the second anything happens with hashtag F2B, it pops up there, and you get the continuous hashtag F2B Sandbox Twitter feed all right there. It's amazing. Get TweetDeck. That's what you want to do. All right? Gong. You know what that was? That was my... that's funny that you guys noticed it. My microphone swing arm, radio arm, and if you hit it just right, all of the springs on it will ring. That's what that was. You're not supposed to hit it. I hit it. Accident. Man, that sounds cool. Rita and I were watching Vanity Fair. We binged it. There's a 7-part miniseries on Prime, and we watched it over the weekend for Vanity Fair. And at the Crowley Mansion, when they serve dinner, they have a big gong, right, in the dining hall. That's what that sounds like. Vanity Fair was pretty good, by the way. Really enjoyed it. All right, hashtag F2B. At JChurchRadio. That is Twitter. If you want to email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. All of our other social media is over on the website, jimmychurchradio.com. You can follow, like, and subscribe right there. Also, the new website is blazing fast. You need to go over and check that out. I want to thank Drew for all of his hard work there. Still fine-tuning a few things, but it's and that's all just minor stuff. The website is amazing, and I do want to thank Drew for all of his hard work. Go over and check it out. Go to the membership area, podcast, the shopping area. All of that is so cool and so fast. So fast, so good. JimmyChurchRadio.com. All right. There you go. Breaking news. A tanker hauling 40,000 pounds of liquid chocolate rolled over on the interstate near Flagstaff, Arizona earlier today. Some things you just can't make up, and this really happened. It left a river of chocolate blocking flowing traffic in the westbound lanes of Interstate 40 at milepost 211 east of Flagstaff. The tanker was hauling 40,000 pounds, about 3,500 gallons of 120-degree liquid chocolate. But it turns out it's biodegradable, and the driver wasn't cited for the accident. There you go. That's a dream. I used to have a dream. I think everybody, talk about hive mind. I used to have a dream when I was a kid of swimming in a swimming pool of chocolate pudding. And I had, so somebody, I think it was one of my teachers, I told him about this dream, and the dream kept happening over and over again. And my teacher said, you can't swim in chocolate pudding, you would sink. You can only swim in water. And I stopped having the dream. Yeah. Could you swim in 40,000 pounds of liquid chocolate? But you know what? It's 120 degrees. Right? So that's like boiling. Yeah, you would singe in that. I mean, your skin would toast off. But what a great thought. And so if this happened on the freeway, would you go up, stick your finger, and they didn't disclose what kind of chocolate, by the way. Is it the high quality stuff, right? Is it the good stuff or not? But it happened today in Flagstaff. Also announced today, PG&E, right? The energy company up north in California has announced that it is initiating a voluntary reorganization as it files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The announcement comes after the company has claimed liability for the 2017 and 2018 Northern California wildfires. The company said it will reorganize under the Chapter 11 bankruptcy code on or around January 29th of this month. It also indicated that it will continue to provide natural gas and electric to its customers during the restructuring phase. And I am going to go out on a strange thought here. Because they have claimed liability, does this mean that they will not be paying out any lawsuits? And can they do that under a Chapter 11 bankruptcy and just claim that there's no money there? Just my thoughts. I watched all of and read all that I could today. Zero mention of this. Just my thoughts. All right. I mentioned earlier we will be at the Crystal Matrix this Sunday, January 20th. We're going to be hanging out with Carolyn Ford and Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. And all of the information that you need is at thecrystalmatrix.com. The address is 3215 Glendale Boulevard in Atwater Village, which is right next to Glendale, right next to Burbank, right here in Los Angeles, California. And their phone number, which you must call. You've got to make arrangements for this. It's going to be packed. Okay, but I want to see some Fadernauts there. I want to see some Fade to Black t-shirts. The phone number is 323-644-7625. The Crystal Matrix this Sunday, January 20th. They've got events going on with Einstein Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to be there for Sunday for the big ceremony. Okay, so 323-644-7625. Rita's going to be there. Lisa Frith is going to be there. And I haven't even checked with Lisa, but I'm assuming she is going to be there. All right, so we'll see everybody at the Crystal Matrix this Sunday, January 20th. All right, and then right after that, we've got a bunch of events coming up here. So coming up right after that is the 2019 Conscious Life Expo right here in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton. That is February 22nd through the 25th. And, of course, this year we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods with Eric Von Daniken. All right, just go to theconsciouslifeexpo.com. That's all you have to do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com for tickets and a full conference schedule. Then, after that, our next event is Contact in the Desert, May 31st through June 3rd in Indian Wells, Palm Springs, California, at the Renaissance Indian Wells Resort and Spa. Tickets and info at contactinthedesert.com. Also, now at that event, okay, for both of these events, for the Conscious Life Expo and Contact in the Desert, Conscious Life Expo, Friday night, you need to get tickets for my panel with Eric Von Daniken. And that's a separate item. So you got to do that at Conscious Life Expo. And at Contact in the Desert, we've got 3 events that are going on there. Friday night, Fade to Black will be broadcasting live like we do each year. Okay. Saturday night, I am hosting the awards dinner. Okay. And that's a separate thing. And I want to see all of the Fadernauts there for the awards dinner. You get your stuff there. And then Sunday night at Contact in the Desert, I'll be doing, like I do each year, the closing night panel at Contact in the Desert. All of the information is over at contactinthedesert.com. And then after that is our 2019 Soul Tech Conference, which is over the July 4th weekend at Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado. You can sign up now for tickets and information at soultechgathering.com. All right, now that event's going to sell out, and everybody on the waiting list is going to have first crack at tickets. Okay, soultechgathering.com. All right, man. Did you guys notice? Did you look at me in the video? See how low I'm sitting? My chair just, it just, oh man, that was too funny. I was just, and I'm like sitting with my knees on my chest. My chair just went down. That's it. Rita down in her office. You guys haven't seen that. She's got the real studio down there, and she's got one of those Ferrari racing chairs. That's what she's got, and I've got this thing from Office Depot. I've got to. I need one of them racing chairs like she's got. She's got the full-on Recaro thing with all these pillows and adjustments and things that you move, and it's really nice. And I've got this old thing. I got to get me a racing chair. That's it, Rita. We got to put the racing chair in the budget. I can't continue to shrink during the show. All right. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. It's just $2 a month. Go over to our nice new fresh website and sign up for that. Also, you can become a Fade or Not in our membership section, which is also fresh and new. Go and check it out. It's fast, quick. Go and do it today. Become an official Fade or Not. All right. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, the one and only Zach Wild. Today is 51 years old. All right, let's see who posts the Jimmy Zach Wild picture first in Twitter. Let's see what happens. I'll give you a special mention. I'll give you a retweet. Zach Wild today is 51. Also today, Dave Grohl is 49. I would have thought Dave Grohl was much older than that, but nah, he's not. He's just 49 years young today. On this day in history, 1943, and I'm going to tell you, this is a weird on this day in history because you would have thought this would have happened earlier, but it happened in 1943. Franklin Roosevelt becomes the first president to travel on official business by airplane. That's right, 1943. Crossing the Atlantic by air, Roosevelt flew in a Boeing 314 flying boat dubbed the Dixie Clipper to a World War II strategy meeting with Winston Churchill at Casablanca in North Africa on this day in 1943. Fader fact. Are you ready? There is a grape called the cotton candy grape that tastes just like, well, cotton candy. That is your favorite fact. Kevin Korber comes in strong with the Jimmy Zach Wild pick. See, there you go. I promised to retweet, Kevin. And there you go. So I promised retweet. So there you go. See, I did it. And there you go. That was quick. That was good, Kevin. That was good. All right, where am I? You know, I've got to talk about Project Blue Book again, and I'm going to do this now. I got to get back to it because the series that is currently airing on History Channel, Project Blue Book, the next episode is tomorrow, Tuesday. All right, more on that in just a bit. And while today I was surfing around to find out what the skeptics are saying about Project Blue Book. And one of the sites that I go and visit from time to time is, I'm going to say it, Bad UFOs by Bob Schaefer. He uses Robert, but hey, right here and now I'm going to call him Bob. And I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking right now. You're going, Jimmy, what are you doing on his blog? Well, okay, look, I like to get all sides when it comes to an opinion. I do that. But one thing is for sure, if there are any issues with anything UFO related, old Bob is going to get to the bottom of it. He'll fact check you to death. That's a fact. All right? But normally Bob is spot on with the black and white. Right? Okay? And with Project Blue Book or anything else like this, there are so many out there who study history and will be very quick, to cross-check the information. And I knew that Project Blue Book would bring out the things that are, untrue, false, right? Or just outright BS. And So here you go. I'm just going here now. All right. Bad UFOs blog. It's called Bad UFOs, Skepticism, UFOs in the Universe. And underneath that, there's a byline. And I'm going to quote here from Robert Schaefer. So I'm going to give full credit here. Reflections on UFOs, Skepticism, and Practically Anything Else by Robert Schaefer, author of the book Bad UFOs, plus the Psychic Vibrations column in the Skeptical Inquirer. All right, so everybody back up for a second. Just calm down. Just calm down. Okay? This is what Bob Schaefer posted on Bad UFOs, and I'm quoting. Here is an off the top of my head list of falsehoods shown or implied in the Fuller dogfight, which was, of course, episode 1 of the Project Blue Book series. All right? Okay, so here we go. The Fuller dogfight. Now, this is what I have to say first here. The Fuller dogfight, they exchanged a few names. I don't even know why they did this, because Fuller is exchanged for Gorman. All right? The Gorman dogfight in Project Blue Book took place in 1948, and you need to understand that first off. Okay, so when we say the Fuller dogfight, it's actually the Gorman dogfight. Okay? Okay. So here we go. The first thing, Gorman shot at the object, which he did in the TV series, and that appears to be false. Okay? Gorman was sent to the infirmary for an extended period of time with psychological problems. And again, this is false. This is according to Robert Schaefer, but, well, more on this in a minute. Okay? But that's false. Gorman collided with the object, which damaged his plane. This was false. The UFO took control of Gorman's plane. Also false. Gorman somehow anonymously hears a radio station during the incident and became obsessed with the song. Also false. Hynek traveled to Fargo to investigate the case on site, and this was false. Now, he continues with, indeed, Mark O'Connell, author of the first biography of J. Allen Hynek, noted on Facebook that in the episode, Hynek drove from Fargo, North Dakota to Columbus, Ohio, seemingly in a matter of minutes. It's a 15-hour drive today. It seems like it would be much longer. It's a 15-hour drive today. But back then, there were no interstates. And again, this is very interesting, and I noticed it during the series. Now, Hynek and his Air Force handler, a pilot, went up in a plane to try to duplicate the encounter. The plane crashed, both survive, and this is beyond ridiculous. Well, also in the episode, a man in black was watching the investigation, right? Uselessly from a distance. The stories about Men in Black originated with Albert K. Bender in 1953. Now remember, the original classic UFO case of the Gorman dogfight was in 1948. Now we're off by about 4 or 5 years here with the Men in Black. Now, which okay, I've got to state this. Each one of these points that Schaefer brings out as false, I had questioned myself in real time during the broadcast. Hynek was in a plane that crashed and he survived? Wait a minute, I've never heard of this before. Men in Black in 1948? Well, we all know that was 1953 at the earliest. You know, and I just thought that there were so many things that seemed to me to be to the extreme. And if they really happened or were reported and not in the original Project Blue Book report, where did the information come from? It seems to me that all of these events went down as viewed in the episode. J. Allen Hynek experienced the most craziest of things ever and would have been out there in the public with it. he would have spoken about it. Seriously. So with the next episode, which is the Flat Woods Monster, another incident that I have researched over the years, and I think I have a pretty good grasp on the facts of the case, we're going to see what History Channel does with this and what Hynek experienced while investigating. And if we're going to continue to get the disclaimer at the beginning and the end of the show, the based on true events from the files of Project Blue Book, I have a feeling that this is about to get very, very good. And I'm saying it this way, science fiction good, with a strong emphasis on fiction. It looks like Bad UFOs and Robert Schaefer are going to have a lot to write about over the next 12 weeks, and he should. You see, this is the thing. When Bob picks up on your scent, he is relentless in his pursuit of the truth. And I may not always agree with Robert, which is fair, but his reporting on TTSA and DeLong, Elizondo, is some of the best out there. And yes, I admit, I like to hang out at Bad UFOs and get my skeptic fix on. It's a guilty pleasure. Seriously. So that's why you need to go over to Bad UFOs. You don't have to agree. You need to see what the other side is thinking. And I knew that with Project Blue Book, that first episode, I enjoyed Project Blue Book. But as it rolled on, I just kept sitting back and thinking to myself, there's no way that Hynek did that. He crashed in a plane. Right? We need to stop with this, the Men in Black. But there's two sides to this. Is it just merely creative license? Okay, so if it's creative license, that's fine. But if you're going to say that this is based on, Project Blue Book, these are the facts, then we have an issue here. Is it misleading? And I don't know. I don't know. So tomorrow night, the Flatwoods Monster, of everything that they could do. Flatwoods Monster, 1952. Some kids are up on a hill. They see something fly over the hill. They go over to the top of the hill. They walk over to the other side. Boom. They see this creature. Glowing eyes, hooded, craziness, smells, stink. And the whole thing just took off from there. Now, where is Hynek going to get wrapped up in the Flatwood Monster story? Yeah. So tomorrow night with History Channel, time's going to tell where they are going with this series. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Chad Callek is here. We're going to be talking about his new documentary, which is a sequel to Sir No Face, and the new one is called Two-Face the Gray. Tomorrow night, Linda Moulton Howe is here, and then Wednesday night, it's Robert Schoch. We've got a great week lined up here on Fade to Black, and I'll be right back after this short break with tonight's guest, Chad Callek. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple enough. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. That's all you got to do to engage in the conversation. It's Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with me. I'll be right back after this short break.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey folks, guess what the number one phrase that Life Change Tea receives by email? You ready? We love this tea. We love this tea. Time after time, week after week, we love this tea. Life Change Tea gives you more energy, a beautiful cleansing, and fulfills its slogan perfectly. The tea that makes you go. So if you want to be on your health game, log on to getthetea.com and order Life Change Super Strength Tea. Packages come in a 1-month supply, and when you brew this stuff, wait until you see the results. Aren't we all about the results? And with a lot of people's health struggling, we can use a little bit of help. Doctors will tell you disease starts in the gut. So log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Be our next email saying, I love this tea. I love this tea. Get the tea at getthetea.com. Helping America one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo-3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Chad Callek is here. That's right. Chad is here. He's standing by. Tomorrow night, Linda Moulton Howe. Wednesday night, Dr. Robert M. Schock. What a great week we've got lined up here. Thank you to everybody that's hanging out. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Chad at AGHChad on Twitter. He's right there. Chad Callek has spent over 25 years investigating the world's most haunted locations in search for answers to the bizarre, the mysterious, and the unexplained. And although he's known for capturing some of the most compelling evidence in the history of the paranormal field, he has also developed a reputation as a staunch debunker. That's right. He is the director and producer of the American Ghost Hunter documentary, which chronicled his family and their 20-year battle with the paranormal. And he's got 2 documentaries out, right? Last year, he released the Sir No Face documentary, which had a clip of Sir No Face. But now he's got a sequel, and it is called Two-Face the Gray. All of the links for Two-Face the Gray are up at jimmychurchradio.com, and we're going to discuss what Two-Face may be and what it's like for Chad and his team to go from ghosts to the world of ufology. Chad, welcome back, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, let's go straight to the question, Chad. What's it like to go from the paranormal and ghosts to ufology, right?
Well, it's as the beginning of the documentary shows, Two-Face the Gray, it was something I was really resistant upon doing initially. Well, for a couple reasons. One, there were all kinds of weird things that were going on that pointed to the world of ufology as we were filming Sir No Face. But admittedly, it's kind of like that old statement, if you make something a hammer, everything's a nail. Because the Australian government said this is a paranormal case, and because our minds were so trained to that, it really took going on tour with Sir No Face and the audience repeatedly, night after night, going, okay, you caught something, but we think you're wrong. And I was like, oh, here we go. The skeptics are going to tell me I'm a fake and Craig's a fraud and all this stuff. And that's not what we heard. What we heard is you caught something, but it's not a ghost, it's a gray. And as I tried to push that off, the audience pushed back even harder, to the point where I had no choice but to really take a look and reopen the case. We had over 1,000 requests written to reopen the case and to look at it from a ufology standpoint. And the one thing that I've noticed between the two, because admittedly, I do consider myself an expert when it comes to the spiritual side, ghost side of the paranormal, but I consider myself more of a fan of ufology than I am, like I'm not Dr. Stephen Greer, you know what I mean? I haven't spent my whole life delving into the world of ufology. I know about as much as, another big fan of it. But one thing I've noticed in the world of ufology is there's a lot more fear in the world of ufology than there is the world of spiritual side of paranormal. And I'm unfortunately learning why. It's just it's a crazy world, and I'll tell you, man, in the 25 years that I spent investigating the paranormal and ghosts and spirits and debunking stuff, never did I have anything weird in my life happen. And since we've been going down the road of ufology on this incredible case, this absolutely mind-blowing case that Craig and his team have embarked on, as you see in the documentaries, the weirdness has certainly encompassed all of us.
I want to do a little bit of a disclaimer here for the audience when it comes to Two-Face. So everybody understands where you and I are coming from. Of course, Chad knows about this, but I want the audience to know. Yeah. When Two-Face came out, Chad immediately contacted me. You've got to check this out, and I need your comments, okay? And what that said to me at that time was that Chad is now in uncharted territory, and he needs my opinion on a few things. So I did. I watched the entire documentary. I wrote Chad back. We talked on the phone. And I inserted a couple of comments. None of that was a big deal, but he needed some eyes on it from somebody that he would trust that understands the UFO subject, and I jumped in on it. The second thing that I want to have everybody know here, that when you get into the field of UFOs, no matter how acclimated you are, and no matter how much of a seasoned researcher you are, you don't know everything. And the world of UFOs, there are a lot of very, very, very smart people out there. But it's also different from ghosts in that now you've got governments that are involved. You've got research that is involved with 3-letter agencies. And you've got very seasoned people out there that aren't necessarily researchers, but study the subject. And here you are, man. Welcome. And the third thing that I need everybody to understand, which I let Chad know, is just like Chad, when I was a sportscaster, no issues. None. No issues with equipment, with phones, with friends, with things. It was a very smooth operation. You get into UFOs and conspiracy, which involves the government. Suddenly, I've got technical issues. I've got phone issues. I've got email issues. I've got things getting hacked, on a daily basis, to the point where I've got to brush it off. And you are experiencing the same things, aren't you?
Well, yeah, and big time. And Craig and his lovely wife, Nikki, and their family are experiencing it even worse, which was my primary reason for getting the sequel out as fast as possible, because I do believe that, a layer of protection comes from awareness and people knowing what's going on. But just so people know, I mean, how this whole thing started, and this wasn't included in Sir No Face, because this is going to sound like a crazy event when I say it, but when you're going down one direction and you're so focused on it, you just don't want to go down another direction if you don't know where it leads you. But this whole thing, like literally I was in Australia promoting my film A Blood Red Sky. We had just decided that we were going to move forward with Sir No Face, and the first event that we go out, we play in Townsville. This whole thing starts with, I'm giving a presentation. This is well documented in the film as well. And this gentleman walks in wearing all black. He's got tattoos on his face, a tattoo of Amun-Ra on his face. And he's pacing, and he's walking with like just the way a man walks when he has a mission. Like you could tell he's not there to be a fan. I mean, he is walking around with intention. I see him talking to my team. Afterwards, right as the presentation's over, he's making his way to me, just beelining through the crowd, and he has something in his hands. And Craig gets to me first and says, "Hey," and I cut him off and I go, "Black guy with tattoos?" He goes, "Yeah, something doesn't feel right." So Craig's like, "I'm going to get behind him. If he even makes the slightest move, I'm taking him out." I don't know what's going on here. And this guy was very intimidating. And he pretty much hands me this package and says, "You don't know me, I don't know you." And by the way, this guy bought a VIP ticket with no interest in the show. He just wanted to have 5 minutes with me.
Right.
So he can do this. And he hands me this package and tells me he's been shot and knifed in Mexico for these contents. He has no interest in the show, no interest in money, doing press, anything like that. He's done his homework on me. He knows who I am. He simply wants me to have the package. And there's multiple witnesses of this. We have photos of him, all this stuff. And I open this package, and it is like the most mind-bending and disturbing stuff you've ever seen, that is so in-depth. And this is like day one of Sir No Face, and we're going, what is going on here? And from that point on, it was just a slow progression of incredibly bizarre things that were happening, right down to the point that, Craig's getting visitors to his house that are, and maybe I'm jumping way ahead here right now, but people coming to his house, telling him to stop doing what he's doing, warning him away, emails. I can't tell you how many times I've had to rechange my email, like the password. I'm like, what is going on? There's so many things, and it's all demonstrated in the film too, from phone calls where you can clearly hear that it's being monitored, clearly. And every time you start talking about hearing it, the phone call is being monitored, it stops. The beeps and everything that you can hear. There's just so much stuff in this film that if someone told me, again, if I didn't know the people involved, I would just be like, God, they've got to be crazy. But no, I've learned that this stuff is far more real than, because you hear about this all the time. I recently, Tyler Glockner from Security Team was on your show, and he put out a video saying, yeah, I was talking to Jimmy, and the second I started talking about this, then, the phone lines drop and the interference comes. And you hear stuff like that and you think, well, sure, could be, could not be. But then when you start experiencing those types of phenomenon consistently, it's a different ballgame. It's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally. And we're going to get to all of that and those details. And before we do, I want to set things up. First things first. Who is Craig? Now, because we're going to be talking about Craig quite a bit tonight. And Craig in the new documentary, you can clearly see that he's the guy you want in a bar fight, right? On your side of the fence, right?
Yes, Craig Powell, he and his wife are the founding members of the West Sydney Paranormal Research Team. They were the team that was handpicked by the Australian government. Actually, the Sydney Harbour Trust, which is the equivalent of the Department of Defense of the Australian government, handpicked Craig to lead what turned out to be a 2-year government-sanctioned paranormal investigation of Cockatoo Island, in which so no-face footage was captured. And Craig is a former professional rugby player. He's I'm a pretty big dude, and he's one of the few guys that I've been around that dwarfs me. He is a very, and not by any way, shape, or form overweight. He's just a massive dude. Very tough guy. Definitely the guy you want, in a fight, and you want him to have your back. And as you see in the film, he is noticeably shaken throughout pretty much all of it. And Craig was. It's weird when I hear him like that, because I know him as such a strong personality. To see him shaken like he is over what's been going on, and to hear it, and you especially hear it when in one of the first trailers that I put out, there's the first time he calls me, because we were recording our phone conversations for Sir No Face, okay? So I get a phone call super early in the morning, out of the blue, and it's about these two gentlemen that in the middle of the afternoon, he was actually taking a nap. These two gentlemen knock on his door, and he thinks that they're like, what do they call those guys that go door to door?
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses. He thinks Jehovah's Witnesses. So he opens the door, and he said that they both have these like permagrins, like just smiling the whole time, no matter what they're saying. Their expression never changes, to the point where he said they were human, but they almost seemed inhuman with their emotions. In which they go, hey Craig, how you doing? And he's like, do I know you? How do you know my name? And he was like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. We just wanted to tell you that, this project you're working on, it's not going to go forward, and you need to back off on it. And he's like, well, listen, I'm not the guy that's doing it. Chad's the guy that's making it. I'm just helping him. And they're like, oh, we know all about it. We're just here to tell you that it's not something that's going to happen, and you need to, listen to us right here, and we hope we don't have to come back again. And he literally turns around to grab his camera, to basically, get some footage of these guys, to turn on the camera and say, okay, fine, now talk. And these guys are gone. And there's a really great demonstration in the film about why this would be impossible, that they could just be gone. But when you hear his voice in the phone call to me, it's chilling. I mean, it is just chilling, because he's at the verge he's angry, but he's so freaked out, he's at the verge of tears at the same time.
Now,
and that's when I knew this was getting real.
Yeah, because he's not a small guy. He doesn't look like he's ever intimidated by anything. And in the documentary, now when we come back also after the break, we're going to discuss this specific clip that we're talking about here and why this is such a big deal. But Craig goes, he goes to grab his cell phone. He comes back to the door. These guys are gone. And in the documentary, the driveway is a long driveway, and it's on a hill. And there's no way that these guys could have run up the hill and disappeared. He goes up. He looks up both sides of the street. These guys just apparently disappear. And not only when he gets to the top of the driveway and they're gone, but there's no vehicles up there or anything. So you have to ask yourself, how did they pull that off? How did they, now does this bring in some element of unbelievable, of paranormal, some of the stories about the Men in Black, not even being human. This now comes into play, but you guys are not used to dealing with these situations. He had no idea what was going on, did he?
No. I mean, absolutely not. Like I said, this isn't. We've heard stories of stuff like this. I mean, I've heard after this happened in researching it. I read different, articles and just different things written about the Men in Black and the times that they've appeared. And, I had seen Dan Aykroyd talking about his experience with the Men in Black. But, you don't think that, I mean, in my world, honestly, I just, you think it's a great story. Or maybe they existed at one point, but it was just a different government agency. But then the more and more you read about it, you go, well, here's the thing. I spent 2 years, I tried to catch Craig in a lie of any kind in Sir No Face and failed miserably. This is not something that he would like out there. I'm sure he didn't wake up and go, you know what, I would just love the world to know that 2 men visited my place and I was terrified. It's just not the type of thing he would want out there. So I'm certain he's telling the truth. And at the same time, on my end, things over here were getting so bizarre. And I don't know when the break's coming, but there's a story I want to tell you that connects to theirs, what was going on with them simultaneously. And that's what we kind of realized, is that we were simultaneously experiencing things. Which is pretty crazy.
And things do get strange. And when I watched this part of the documentary, and I stress that everybody go and check out Two-Face, the Gray. But I had my own little experience with a strange knock at the door, and this happened about 2 years ago, maybe a little longer. But I'm goofing around. I'm at the house. Rita's gone. I'm home alone, and there's a knock at the door, and which I never get. I live in a gated community. Okay, disclosure to everybody, right? I live in so there isn't any traffic. There isn't anything strange that goes on in here. It's gated,
right?
And I get a knock at the door, and I go down, and it's a lady in a suit. And she's got an iPad, and she goes, "Hi, Mr. Church, I'm here with the census. I have a few questions for you." I said, "The census?" "Yes, I have a few questions. What do you need with me?" "Well, how many, and she said Caucasian. I remember that. And she goes, "Okay, so there are," and I was like, "What?" And I looked at her, and she had a badge. I remember that. But anyway, that was down on her hip. And I backed up and I said bye-bye, and I shut the door on her face, right? I just shut the door. And the next day, knock at the door. And I go down and I open it up, and I thought, wow, and again, Rita was gone. Open up the door, and it's the same lady with 2 dudes behind her in suits, big guys, like football player guys. And I notice, as I'm looking at these 2, I notice right across the street from the house, the total Fed car, Ford police interceptor, kind of car.
Yeah.
And it was maroon, by the way. It wasn't black. It was maroon. But anyway, it's sitting across the street. And she goes, I need to talk to you, Mr. Church. I said, "No, you don't. My bosses have sent me back." Oh, I'm quoting. "My bosses have sent me back, and we've got a few questions for you." I said, "No, you don't." And I'm looking at these 2 guys. I'm like, the sense, what the F? This is ridiculous. Yeah. And I shut the door. Bam, slammed it on him. And I walked away. Rita comes home a little bit later, and I'm telling her this story. What I should have done, this was my mistake, is video. I should have just grabbed my phone, walked outside, shot the car, videotaped them to see, I didn't go out to see if they were going to other houses. I didn't do any of that. It was a total stupid move. But it was the feds, dude, checking up on
exactly what Craig was trying to do at that time, was grab his phone, video. Like, that's the key. What's interesting about that, Jimmy, is, and this is part of this in the film too, but for about a week, I started noticing this black Mercedes that would have its lights on at any time of the day, whether it's noon or 5 or 9 p.m., and I finally was able to get some film on this thing, and I ended up talking to my partner Thomas, who I always want to give him huge shout-outs, because without him, both these films wouldn't even be possible. But I was telling him about this, and he was just like, you know what? You need to just drive him right to the police station, slam the car and park, and hop out with your phone filming, and just say, who are you, type of thing. And the weird thing was, I was like, I'm totally going to do that. After that conversation I had with him, I never saw this car again. So I started thinking, you know what? I'm going psychopathic here. Like, this is just my own mind working against me. I'm in the city of Los Angeles. There's a ton of black Mercedes around here. I mean, who would actually be following me? Because the only reason to do that in today's day and age would be pure intimidation. Right as I'm thinking that's happening, I get a phone call from Craig's wife, who wants to tell me that she's not crazy, that there's a car that's been following her. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. And she's like, no. And, they went through the whole thing. I mean, this has happened a couple times, and I recently showed you when we were together. Well, you know what? Let's get to that later on about the guys coming back and those details. But this thing goes, to a place of surveillance that is just really, really unnerving. But I hear you, man. I mean, that stuff actually happens. It's crazy.
Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about this clip. And as we start to set this up, we've got about 1 minute here, okay. Chad. How long is the original Sir No Face clip?
Well, the footage runs for like 4 hours and 50 minutes of straight footage.
But the clip?
But the actual, the clip of Sir No Face, where you see him, probably about 4 seconds.
4 seconds in its entirety.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea, the ghost side of it is one thing, but did you have any idea that 4 second clip was going to cause this kind of trouble?
No, man. No. And it becomes very apparent that there's a lot of reasons that maybe we should have, especially when the film gets into, when you start looking at the government's approach to this, which we could talk about when we come back to.
Right.
Because their activities are really weird, really weird. But no, that 4 seconds changed my life, man, and Craig's, and a whole bunch of other people's.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Chad Callek. We're talking about his new documentary, a sequel to Sir No Face. It's called Two-Face the Gray. The links for Two-Face and how to see it are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. Just click on it, and it'll take you straight there. All right, this is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Chad Callek. Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Come join us for the 2019 Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton. This year, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods with Eric Von Daniken, and I'll be hosting the panel with Eric, Linda Moulton Howe, Jason Martell, Billy Carson, and join George Norrie, Nassim Haramein, Robert Schock, Daniel Brinkley, Grant Cameron, Julia Mossbridge, and another 50 speakers who will be presenting at the 2019 Conscious Life Expo. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for tickets and a full conference schedule, or click on the CLE banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Julian. You're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. If you're watching me on the bunker cam, you can see that I'm tweeting. Whenever I tweet during the break, I get caught up and I get hung up right as the commercial break comes in. Our guest tonight is Chad Callek, and we're talking about Two-Face the Gray's new documentary. That's what I was tweeting. I just tweeted out the links to the documentary. Now, let's get specific here for everybody so you can understand what we're talking about. When Sir No Face came out, I watched it, and I had Chad on. You know what? I think we did Fade to Black and Coast to Coast back to back then, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
And yes, sir. Which we did again this week. You were just on Coast to Coast with me, and now you're on Fade to Black. And now... So when I saw Sir No Face, I saw the clip, and I went, that's not a ghost. That's a gray. That's what popped into my head. Now, I didn't want to say anything, not only to Chad, I didn't want to pollute his ghost hunting efforts here, because the clip clearly is cool. Maybe it is a ghost, but it hit me as a gray, which I'm glad I didn't bring it up because everybody else said it, and that was good enough for me, right? Okay, so that's now this clip. Let's talk about this clip. What happens in the clip? What do we see?
Okay. Just to run just a little bit here. Yes, what was crazy is, like I said, on the tour, I thought for sure, just because of the skeptical nature of the paranormal side on the ghost side, that there would be all kinds of people that wanted to argue whether or not it was real. I was floored that we played 28 sold-out shows, and 2 people wanted to debate whether or not it was fake. Everybody else on the tour was just like, dude, Craig totally captured something. But yes, about half our audience, which is very well demonstrated in the film, because we have the footage from people giving their thoughts, kept saying it's an alien. And the reason that I wasn't there initially is because I've done a lot of research on shadow men, shadow people, the phenomena. And one of the unique things about, and there's much debate amongst the paranormal side and paranormal researchers as to whether or not when shadow men appear, do they or do they not have some degree of mass to them, because they stop light. There's a guy named Keith Age that was doing laser light experiments in the Waverly Hills that demonstrated this. So what I was thinking is that this could possibly be some form of shadow person. But in the footage itself, what occurs is Craig is actually off the island. His wife and 2 other members of the team are left there with the one security guard. They lock a camera down for the night because they're going to go to sleep. They're camping to wake up in the morning. The security guard locks the door. We have the ledgers to know who was on the island. At 7 p.m., everybody has to leave the island, but because they were given permission by the government, they can stay there. We know the door is locked. Where the camera is setting up, and from where this entity, whatever it is, appears, the only way to even get to this place, you would have to walk in front of the camera to get there. There's no entrance to this location anywhere else. No one obviously ever walks in front of the camera. There's a long hallway, and 2 French doors are opened, and out of the wall, this entity steps forward, looks directly down into the camera, plain as day. I mean, it's like you don't got to look hard for it. It's right there. And kind of jumps back a little bit. And when that doesn't jump back, kind of jerks back a little bit, but there's a fluidity to the way that this thing moves that the physics are just off. It's clearly not human, and it disappears into the wall behind it. Now, there's a lot of interesting things here. The recreation footage and the original footage, right away Craig tried to recreate it with his team member. The first thing we noticed is this building they're in, known as the officers' quarters, is literally falling apart. You can't walk anywhere without, because it's these old wooden creaky floors, you can't so much as stand without making noise. I mean, just anywhere you walk and lean, there's loud cracks and bends and all this stuff. And that entire 4 hours and 58 minutes of the camera films, including when No Face appears and disappears, there is not a sound. There is not a single sound. So if someone was thinking that either someone was in the building at that time for 4 hours and 58 minutes, they'd have to do it somehow without making a sound, which would be impossible to do. But the real kicker is once we were able to line up Craig's recreation footage and the actual footage, once we lined up the perspectives, because when he did the recreation footage, he was kind of doing it by eye, I think the camera was close to here, I'm close to here. Once we were able to pull into the final cut and do the perspective, what we realized is Sir No Face is about 3.5 feet tall, which was a big aha moment in Sir No Face, is when you realized that, whoa, this thing is tiny. And compared to Craig, who obviously is over 6 feet tall, when Craig did the recreation, first of all, he was loud as hell. Secondly, he couldn't even get behind the open French door because the wall's there. He couldn't hide fully behind it. Couldn't even get his body behind it. And obviously, you know, the most obvious thing is in the recreation footage, you could just see it's Craig. It just looks like a dude. Like this is him, you know? So this thing being as small as it is, it would have to be a child. So then it begs the question, so who's going to lock their child in some house and sneak him in for 4.5 hours and what, just lock him in there? They don't got to go to the bathroom. They don't make noise. They don't do anything. So it became very obvious that the only way that this could have been possible is through CGI. Okay. Having said that, from my work in the film business, and I worked on a project for about 18 months directly with Steven Spielberg. I got to know a lot of his guys, a lot of his animators. It just so happens that one of the top animators in Hollywood, the guy who actually brought Transformers to life, his name was Danny. He did all the CGI for Iron Man, the Avengers, Real Steel, Benjamin Button, you name it, he's the guy. I took the footage to him and said, listen, I don't need you to tell me that this is a ghost. I need you to tell me, has this footage been altered? And his first thing he said is, well, maybe you don't want me to do this, man, because I don't believe in ghosts at all. And I said, no, that's why you're the guy. You're the perfect guy. Like, I want you to tell me, is this footage manipulated? That's all I need to know. I'm not asking you to tell me it's a ghost or not. Is it manipulated?
And so at this point, you've got your debunking hat on, right?
Oh, 100%.
Right.
100%. See, when we first did Sir No Face, I mean, what I told Craig is, I want to make this documentary about you, but you need to understand something. Like, once we push go, like, you're not in control of this. So if I find out that you have faked this, I'm going to burn you, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, this movie is coming out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you need to be very sure before you say yes to this. Because, you know, it makes just as good of a documentary, that.
Right.
Catching a guy.
No
you
kidding.
know what I mean?
No, I'm
and in some ways, even better.
Yep.
You know, and Craig was, from the jump, was like, I'm an open book, man. Like, let's do it. It's authentic. And he did not know in the beginning that I had these type of connections. He did not know that I was going to take the footage to Danny. And so I did. I took the footage to Danny Patterson, and I, literally just said, you just come back and tell me what you think, man. There's no wrong answer, dude. You tell me what you think. And Danny right away, two things that he said. First off, he said, you should be able to tell if something, is manipulated. I should be able to tell on a pixel by pixel level. They can get in there and see. And he's like, there are no dead giveaways here at all, that this is faked. And the one thing that he spoke to me in private about, too, which I totally agreed with, is part of their job as animators is to understand the physics of the human body. So, like, when Robert Downey Jr. is running and jumps off into a cliff and the Iron Man suit starts hitting him and coming to life, he's got to know the physics of the human body and what would it look like when he's running and he has to switch from real time to animation, right? He's got to know the way the human body works. And, he had stated to me as well, too. He's like, there's something about it, the physics are off. Like, this thing's moving free of gravity or something. He was like, it's just off. And I totally agreed with him. But his determination in the end is that there was absolutely no sign whatsoever that it was CGI. So we had gotten to the point that I was certain that we captured something. And because, we were on a paranormal case and we were told by the Australian government that this was, ghost stuff, that's the stuff that we were focusing on. But there were, as you see in the film, and as you know, that you've seen it now, there were some definite things that we should have spent more time noticing in the first run through the investigation. And one of the biggest ones that is a dead giveaway to a lot of, or at least that is included in a lot of contactee cases, is the loss of time.
Yeah, no, I was going to go there right now. And what is interesting for me, we're going to go into the missing time part of this. It's very interesting, is that if you had known from the beginning that this was an alien ET situation with the Australian government and not ghosts, would that have changed your methodology, how you guys were approaching this? Or is it
100%?
Okay, because it's not the same investigation anymore, is it?
Well, it's a totally different approach. First off, I would have suspected the government more right away, just because the history of ufology and government involvement.
Right.
And when we looked through that lens, a lot of things became weird. First off, the government approaches them right away. None of this appeared in the first case, the stuff we're talking about now, or Sir-No-Face. But the first thing they did is offered them a ton of money to come out to the island. They said, listen, you and as many team members as you want, we'll pay you an hourly rate to come out. You determine your own schedule. Oh, and beyond that, we're also going to buy whatever equipment you want. Just invoice us. And you can be out there as long as you want. They also told them they wanted them to, once they, if they found anything, they wanted them to lead these, ghost hunts, and they were going to pay them well for that too. And I'm sitting here thinking, any paranormal team, all paranormal teams are used to doing things for free. It's unheard of that a paranormal team actually gets paid to go investigate a place. So they would have cut off their arm to do this anyways.
Right.
So why is the government right away coming at them with the Holy Grail offer and throwing tons of cash? Well, the only reason you do that is to ensure somebody shows up. You want to make sure they're going to be there. And Craig and his team, they were shown, not only were they showing the government footage of what they were capturing from the Sir-No-Face footage, they were physically taking them to experience what was known as Sir's Light. And for those of you that don't know what this is, Sir-No-Face in the officers' quarters, on call, could light up a room like a lightning bolt went off, to the point where the light was so bright and it was emanating from so many places that no shadows were cast. It would just poof, it would just go off. And they were taking the government down to observe this, in which members of the government were freaking out, but they just kept them going. So why 2 years? Why would you keep them going 2 years? And what's really interesting is when it came to an end. They kept them going for 2 years doing this. And then finally, I call Craig and say, I want to do an event there. I'm looking for a place to do an event. He says, well, listen, we have full access to this place, so I can just talk to the government and let them know that, you want to do events, we can do one. So we do one, and it becomes known later that I'm a documentary filmmaker who comes to the island, ends up seeing Craig's footage, has all kinds of people there to see Craig's footage, which the government initially did not know that he was going to share. And then the day after the filmmaker leaves from another country, the day after Craig shows his footage to other members of the public, the day after the government pulls the plug. Says your services are no longer needed, you got to get your stuff, get off the island, and you're not welcome to come back and ghost hunt here anymore, or anything like that. Without any kind of explanation whatsoever. So what I started thinking is, was Craig documenting something while he was out there, or was the government documenting Craig and his team interacting with something? Because it just made no sense.
No, that version of it makes perfect sense. I mean, especially looking back in hindsight and looking at this footage and how the facility got closed down and their approach to things and the cutoff of funds, and suddenly the video footage comes out and you start leaning on this UFO side of things, and that's when it just got completely funky.
Well, and here's what's even stranger. I wanted to talk to the government absolutely right away. And what I hear back, they actually contacted Craig, not me. And what they said is, and Craig has the emails, we're not going to speak about this with Chad or anybody else. Do what you got to do, but whatever. The only thing that we ask is that he has the emails in the trailer and in the film. Can you remove our names? And I was like, why are? And this is when Sir No Base is coming out, and we're saying that it's we believe it to be a ghost. And I'm thinking, why aren't they telling us to stop this? Do they want this narrative? Is this what they want us to push? And I couldn't figure out why. I was like, why at some point would they just not say, listen, that's, footage you shot on that island without us, without, we own that footage. Like, there's all kinds of legal arguments they could have put up. And they didn't at all. And I was like, huh. And then I hear that for the longest period of time, for like 6 months, they didn't allow any paranormal investigations. Then out of the blue, we find out that they are now going to start allowing them. They're charging $5,000 a night. They're bringing in not Craig and his team who captured all the stuff, some guy nobody's ever heard of, and they're going into buildings that nobody has ever been in or nothing's been occurred in. And I started thinking, I said, Craig, this is just like they want that narrative. They want, it's a ghost, it's a ghost. But it's the same reason that if you were documenting them out there on an island, the reason you would want to get a paranormal team to interact with, say it was a gray, is because if they went public, it would be so easy to make fun of them and do the same old thing, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, these crazy ghost hunters, they found an alien. Of course they did. You know what I mean? Like shit like that, or stuff like that. Sorry. So it just blows my mind that, that they would do all this and not tell us to stop. But what makes perfect sense of what you're talking about is when we started listening to our audience, when we started turning towards that alien narrative, and is this the potential? That's when things have got really weird. That's when Craig, since we've been done filming, and this is one of my main reasons for wanting to get this film out there, he stopped calling me for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. And I'm like, what is going on? This is not like him. He's an instant callback type of guy. And then I started getting all these phone calls from different payphones and stuff over in Australia. And it's Nikki. And she finally calls me, and she is super freaked out. And she was like, Chad, they came back. And I'm like, what? Who? And she's like, these two guys came back. Craig was at home alone. He looks over by the door, and our cat is having, like, seizures. And Craig's like, what is going on? And as he walks over to the door, he feels like this, like electricity, basically, like in his body. And he's like, and it hurts. And he's like sitting there, like almost like he can't move. And he looks at the door, and he sees that both of them are there, in which they open the door, and they tell him, according to him, they tell him straight up, we can ruin you. You need to stop this. We know where your wife's at right now. We know where your kids are at. We know all of this. Like, this is done. We have eyes on you 24/7. It's over. In which Craig got a nosebleed from it and was completely freaked out. Now, when you hear a story this big, I realize that the tendency is to just go, oh, come on. I know this man, Jimmy. I know this man. I know his wife. I know they are being honest. And that's what's so crazy about all this, is I know they're being honest. I eventually did speak to Craig again, in which he was extremely scared, very much beside himself. His wife was as well. And then I got another phone call from Nikki a week later. This is just now a couple weeks ago, in which she said, Chad, they are watching our house. And I said, well, can you get a picture of them or get them on video? And a couple of days later, I get a phone call, and she said, okay, I'm going to send you a picture. And I'm like, what is it? And she goes, just look at it. And she said that there was a man that was hanging out in the shadows of the trees outside their place, and she said he had some kind of mask on that had a light glow to it, and that's how they could see him. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, I guess Craig had saw him out there and went out the back of his door to his house and maneuvered himself around to take this photo. And when I was with you last time, I showed you the photo.
I've seen the photo. I've seen it.
It's disturbing.
Yes, I've seen it. That freaked me out.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. So for those of you out there listening,
the photo. We're gonna hit a break here. The photo is, if my memory is correct on this, they're across the street. The photo is like from the house, and you can see the street in between, and then over across the street is this figure standing there in black, but has got this crazy mask on his face. It's a distortion over the face, I think, is a better way to describe it. And it's bright.
A glow to it.
There's a glow, and it's crazy. That's a disturbing. And now, if somebody showed me the picture, I don't know what I would make of it. You get the backstory to it, the Men in Black, and we've got this alien in this video, and the government. Somebody is messing with this and knocks at the door, and then you take this picture. It's a freaky picture. It's disturbing. For sure.
Well, it's all disturbing. The thing that keeps this case is so mind-blowing to me when the government involvement is the government has yet to deny anything. They've yet to talk about anything, to say we're crazy, to say no, it's not happening.
Right.
I mean, it's just, it's the craziest case ever.
Now, when we come back, okay, this is, let's set up for when we come back. We're going to talk about this missing time. And how many members of the team are on location? How big is the group?
Well, at that time they had 9 members, and they would usually do 4 a night or 5.
4 or 5 in a night.
Split it up, yeah.
And so, just like any ghost hunting paranormal investigation, you've got multiple cameras. You're having to timestamp everything. You're shooting all night long. You've got cameras rolling. You've got all of the time codes and everything else. So everybody's always documenting their location, so you know where you're at, and you have to explain and debunk things that happen in shots. We were there, we were in the hallway, so it could be our shadow because everything is logged. Correct?
Correct. Well, especially with these guys, they were dead on with this stuff.
Dead on. And this is where the missing time comes in. And when we come back after this break, we're going to get to that. And in the Two-Face the Gray footage, this is here. And you need to go in and watch this. And it's not so much, we're going to talk about this after the break, it's not so much the missing time part, because that's obvious. It's the reactions from everybody and how it goes down. So let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Chad Callek. We're talking about Two-Face the Gray, his new documentary. The links for it are over at jimmychurchradio.com. We also have them up in Twitter. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numanna banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Chad Callek is with us. We're talking about Two-Face the Gray, his new documentary. Tomorrow night, Linda Moulton Howe is here. And Wednesday night, Robert Schock. Thursday night's Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Back to Chad. And now let's get to this missing time element, which is pretty amazing how it goes down in the documentary. You present all of the footage there. Let's start from the beginning. We'll get to the reactions of everybody in a second. But as they start marching up the stairs is where, as they are continuing this investigation, that's where it starts. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, what's really cool about it is part of the reason why I wanted to document these guys is because after watching the footage, they're so like professional about what they do. They just do it all right. I mean, they were not a team that came together because of trying to get a TV show or something. I mean, these guys were like into it like Marines. And so right away what you see is Richie, a member of the team, he's setting up the different, RIM pods and different, the wave recorders, and they're doing their baseline walk around to basically figure out what are the natural sounds of the building. And he's, basically explaining to Nikki, why and where he has set things up. And a couple of the RIM pods start, which are like field meters, field detector meters, and they start kind of malfunctioning, and he's explaining that it was weird and why. And, before the whole thing even starts, they say, okay, well, here we are, this is the date, this is the time. They all log it right there. There's a third person with them. They all log the time. And you can follow right along with them. I mean, they're walking through it all. They get to the top of the stairs. I mean, they've probably, maybe only been at it for, I think she says at the end it's been 9 minutes. And so they all three log their time in the beginning, and they get to the bottom of the stairs, and they're moving to a different floor. And Nikki basically says, well, hey, guys, let's go ahead and log our time again because we're moving to another floor. And, it's about as authentic as anything that you'll ever see. She stops, and she was like, wait a minute. It's like, that can't be right, can it? And, they're walking down the stairs, and Richie's kind of like standing there, and she goes, hey. And she stops him, and she's like, what time do you guys have? And he's like, why? And she was like, I basically have that it's been over an hour that we've been here.
Yeah, she said, I think, I could be wrong, but she's like, it's 12:05. And I think is what she says. It doesn't matter, but like it's 12:05. No, it's not. It can't be. We've been on these stairs for an hour.
Yeah,
and you're watching.
And they check they both independently check their watches as well. And she's like, and Richie says back, huh? Yeah, I guess it is. It's now this time. And what's crazy is, and I have all the footage. They go back from the moment they check their watch until the first loss of time check that they do. It was all of 9 minutes.
Yeah, 9 minutes, and I don't mean to laugh, but because it goes down in real time and you can see it, and you're watching the footage, clearly it hasn't been that long, right?
Right. Yeah, no, there's no way. I mean, there's no way. And this wasn't the only time that this had happened. This had happened to other members on the island before. This had happened during EVP sessions before. This was just the time that was so clearly visible on with the cameras. Well, I used to laugh and say to Craig, I'd be like, this island reminds me of like the Lost Island, like in the TV show Lost,
right?
Where like just everything seems to be possible here. It's the weirdest thing. I mean, but about that footage specifically, what's so unique about it is there's an authenticity that comes when people are being real. And like you said, the reactions and the conversation that goes on, because Nikki's clearly just freaked out by what's going on.
Now, how is this in relation to the timestamp on Two-Face at that moment when he pops in the French doors? Is it close to that same time?
Oh, Surno-Face?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, the Surno-Face footage, I think he says, I don't think I included it in the interview, this was a day or two before Surno-Face happened.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, same basic area, yeah. Basic time point. So yeah, I mean, it's really astonishing, and that was something that always struck with me. And we did talk about that a lot. Do we include this in Surno-Face? Do we not include this in Surno-Face? And one of the reasons that we did initially include it is because with the paranormal world, which is different than the world of ufology, but the paranormal world, all people really care about from a filmmaking standpoint is what they can visibly see.
Right.
So we were like, okay, we just want to focus on the hard evidence of like the visual stuff and not overlay people with so many different events that you start diluting everything by so much stuff. And it was already an hour and 40-minute long documentary. And also the implications we knew were more extraterrestrial than they were paranormal, because that's not a common occurrence in ghost cases. You don't often hear people go, man, time just disappeared. That's just not. But you hear it constantly, and especially in contactee cases. And this also happened as I get into the tattooed face man that brought me the package and reading his story that was in his package. It dated back to 1973. He and his wife were in Townsville, were in a car, drove around the corner, and saw this glowing ships of light, that's a description, UFO, in which the first thing he experienced is loss of time. That he thought it had been 15 minutes, and it had been close to 10 hours.
So
this happens a lot.
And then I want to move on. I want everybody to go, and you just have to go and watch the documentary and see how this is laid out. It's a very crucial point for all of us in the UFO community. When you have the missing time element thrown in, that's when we all raise an eyebrow. You know, it's a common theme that is woven through. But and then you had the tattoo-faced guy and his experience. But then, for me, you really went down the rabbit hole when you got contacted by somebody else.
Daniel David Skyfall.
Daniel David Skyfall. Now,
which dare I say is not his Christian name. You know?
And as you mentioned, you know, I'm sure something. I'm hoping something's going to pop up here in Twitter. Daniel David Skyfall. So you get your first email from him, and he reaches out to you. What happens? What did he say in that email?
Okay, so I come home, and now, you know, I get emails all the time, you know, from fans that, you know, even have their own experiences or they have ideas. This was different right away. I mean, this thing was a book-sized email. And this gentleman very bluntly said, hey, I know who you are. I know what you're doing. You and Craig, primarily Craig initially, have stumbled upon something much greater than you. And this is what's going on. And I'll get into that in a second. And it was just, again, like if I'd have printed it out, it'd been 60 pages. I mean, I never flipped so many times with my thumb in my life reading this email. And so I started questioning him back right away. I'm just going, well, come on, your name can't be Daniel David Skyfall. I mean, that sounds about as cheesy as like I think I say in the film, it sounds like the bad guy in a James Bond film or something.
Right.
And he replies and says, you know, I'm not going to give you my real name. And don't even try to look for it. You're not going to find it. He claimed that he worked for an unacknowledged intelligence agency in which his job was to blur the UFO narrative in whatever direction he was ultimately told to, through basically disinformation, making certain people look stupid, just putting things out into the world to basically bend whatever they want the story to be, in which he claimed that is until he learned the real story, in which, again, he claims that he's essentially trying to, I guess the best way to describe it is right is wrong. He's trying to get the real story out there right now. Now, I did not believe any of this, and I told him that, and I said, by the way, I found his story to be fascinating, the stuff that he sent me, but I just said, you know, this could also, you know, you could just be some guy that's just messing with me. So I asked him a very, very unique question, one question that I knew there's no possible way that he could know. I'm known in the public as Chad. Now, that's actually a nickname my father gave to me. My real name is Charles. Now, some people know this. It's been mentioned before in the public. But one thing I knew that nobody knew is that I actually have four names. I have two middle names. Charles Michael David Calek is actually my name. But the only place on planet Earth that David shows up is on my birth certificate. It's not in anything else. It's the dropped name in my name. And nobody knows this except like my wife. Or my mom and my dad. It's nowhere in the public, never spoke about it. So I said to him, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and a couple I felt like if he dug deep enough he can find, but the most important one was, what is my middle name? In which, here's what's weird, I would respond to him, and I would get an email back stating that email doesn't exist, like when someone sends you an email and then just shuts down their account. So it'd be like it doesn't exist. But the weird thing is, then I would get a response to the email that I sent. I'm like, whoa, is this dude like a hacker? Like, what is going on? So he responds and he says, he says, he says exact words in the film, but essentially says, it's a trick question. your middle name, or which do you prefer, Michael or David?
Yeah.
And I about fell out of my chair.
Right.
I was like, what is going on? And so I basically respond to him and say, you should come forward. If the story that you're telling me is true, you should come forward. And in which he made it clear that that's not an option. But the story that he laid out was just fascinating to me. And it was essentially what he's saying is that, this narrative that people have been talking about for years of this like fake alien invasion coming, he's basically laying out that there's going to be a fake alien invasion to gain the support of the public because there's a real one coming. And the powers that be that are running, the industrial military complex, the oil complex, like all these companies, that they don't want to give up what they're doing. And they do want to fight. They do want a war. And what he's been saying, and which is the most fascinating thing in his tale that he lays out there, is that we have been attacking UFOs and extraterrestrials for 60 years. And he lays out where these attacks were, when they happened, who was involved. And what's really interesting about that story, Jimmy, like in the beginning of it, when I'm laying out his narrative, there's things that sound like so crazy, like the whole uranium thing, like in Antarctica. But then like later on, many, many years later, you start seeing these interviews where these facts start coming out. One of my favorite parts of that story is when Admiral Byrd, many people have seen it, Admiral Byrd is given that interview on that TV show about him going through Antarctica. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about all of the things that could be mined, and he's like, there's oil down there, and there's this, that, this, and he pauses, and he gets this smile, and he's like, and there's uranium. And that's like one of the first things that Daniel David Skyfall listed in his story, that all of these countries, Germany, Russia, and the United States, that's what initially took us to Antarctica, was looking for uranium, for what would be the first nuclear bomb. So it gets heavy deep, and you're right, it goes way down the rabbit hole. And I'm still trying to get this gentleman to come forward, and I'm hoping that somebody out there hears this name, Daniel David Skyfall, and knows something about this. Because the one thing I do want to add to everybody is, a lot of times at least if the ufology side is anything like the ghost side of the paranormal, people just love to know everything. They just love to be the guy that knows. I'm not that guy. I'm that guy that believes in like the landline. Like when you play, what's that one game where they like, I'd like to go to the audience for my landline, and then usually it's the right answer. Like I think the only way we're going to get answers is sourcing a large group of people. And so this film is very much not only my investigation, but very much a call to the public to say, let's figure this out together. Let's figure out what's going on.
And what you do in the film, you probably take a full, it's got to be, man, it seems like about 30 minutes. You break down this email from Daniel David Skyfall in its entirety.
Yeah, it's exactly 30 minutes. It's an hour and 48-minute film, and 30 minutes of it is about his story, because there was no way to tell it without telling it, as far as like how... because the chain of events, like breaking down the years and the dates and the days and when this happened, and the leaders of the different countries was very important. And then obviously it brings you all the way up to full scale with Elon Musk and what's going on right now, which, we had this conversation too last time I saw you, where my first manager that I ever had back in the day, he wasn't talking paranormally speaking, but it still makes sense. He said this, we were actually talking about the industry back then, but he said, if you ever really want to know what is going on in the world, just look at the actions of the ultra wealthy and the ultra elite. And what's really unique right now is whether it's Elon Musk or, Bezos or Bozeman or Branson, everybody's trying to get off the planet. Everyone's trying to get to Mars, and they're trying to get there quick. And it's so weird how, and the reason I bring this up is part of Daniel David Skyfall's story kind of surrounded that there was such an urgency that came out of nowhere to get off this planet and to do it fast.
The other parts of his letter, how much, as you were confirming some of the stuff, how much correspondence did you have back and forth with him?
Not a lot, because I could tell he was getting nervous, I think, by me, because I was trying to get him to reveal his real identity and meet with me. That's what I wanted. I wanted him to meet with me, because I kept saying to him, look, I can tell your story, and it could be very compelling. I believe that it is. But if you really want to drive this home, you got to step forward. Like, you got to let people confirm, who you are. And, in the initial response that I got back about that, he said, you don't understand how this works. They would never allow that. And I think I kind of know what he means, in the sense that, like, if you look at, I recently watched the Bob Lazar documentary, which I thought Jeremy Cordell did is a beautiful film, very much an homage to Bob and his story, and I thought it was great. But the same problem exists. There's enough of his past that's put into question that there will always be the ability to punch holes in that story. And I think that's kind of what he was saying, is like, I can't, like, they'll never let that happen. Like, I can't come forward. No one's going to go, yep, he's right. That's what he did. He worked for us. He did this. And we've seen that, in history. One of the things that the film jumps into is, recently with the Tom DeLonge thing and the government releasing the 3 clips, right? The DOD releasing the 3. What the public doesn't realize, or a lot of people in the public don't realize, is when you see, like, the Captain David Fravor, who flew the plane at the Tic Tac UFO, and when you see these guys on Fox and on CNN, it's not like Fox and CNN called them up and found. No, like, the Department of Defense had publicists. They had people who, like, set all this up. Like, there's a reason why all this stuff is coming out right now, and why forever, if you said there was a UFO, the government stance was, you're crazy, mistaken, drunk, it's swamp gas, it's balloons, you're a whack job. And then it turns out, oh, I guess you're not. And they do it that easily. So I think what he was trying to say to me is that when he says they would never let that happen, I think he just means that the narrative, he can't put a name to his face because they'll destroy who he really is. But I don't know. I just don't. I think there's enough belief in it now that things could be different than they've been in the past. And maybe I'm just being optimistic.
When was the last time you had correspondence with Skyfall?
How many times?
No, the last.
Oh, the last was probably, I would say, I could look it up exactly. It would have been right before Halloween. So it hasn't been. It's been since then.
So
it was a couple
just
days before Halloween.
Okay, so a few months or less,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
Why he's probably listening to this program right now. So I'm going to ask Skyfall to reach out to Chad and I again. Reach back to us. And I would like to talk to you, and let's do it together with Chad, and take things a step further. And the reason for that is there are a certain amount of disclosures that he does in this email, especially towards the end, which I'm pretty comfortable in understanding. And I just want to go there. It's as far as I want to go with it. In that, with what happened in 2018 and what we can expect in 2019 when it comes to disclosure, and what is going on with, like, Elon Musk and his posting, his tweeting of Armstrong, with the picture of the alien, and that spelled backwards is alien. Okay, there's like a lot of strange things that are happening right now.
that play out with that narrative and that story.
Yeah, I'm pretty
well.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, and the thing is, Daniel, if you're listening right now, I would say that not only is there a story of great interest to humanity, there's a family that's terrified right now, and like that kind of stuff's got to end. Like people have to be able to have curiosity without being threatened. I mean, that has to go, and the way to do it is it is basic as it sounds. It's disclosure. It's just bringing it out. Bringing it out. So yeah, please get a hold of us both again. And hopefully he feels comfortable enough to actually say who he is and where he's at.
What's the reaction been to, as we head into the next break here, what's the reaction been so far to Two-Face?
Phenomenal. Yeah, it's been phenomenal, which was very rewarding for me because I was very admittedly stepping into a new area that I just haven't been before, and I wasn't doing it, in a way where like I know what I know, I think the reaction has been so positive because I'm being very open about the fact that I don't claim to have all the answers, that this is an ongoing investigation that was filming up until October, so it's almost real time. The response has been incredible, really incredible. So I'm hoping that, like I said, that people continue to get involved with this case. And if they have, direct information about what's going on, definitely, email me and let me know. But the response has been wonderful.
So let's take a break right here. And when we come back, I wanted to get into the fake alien invasion part and why Sir No Face and Two-Face actually come into play. And your approach to this in the film is pretty interesting. But before all of this from Skyfall, from Daniel, had you ever heard of like Project Bluebeam? Have you ever heard of a fake alien invasion? Did you ever consider any of this?
Before this?
Yes.
You know what? I had heard of Project Bluebeam, but I had heard it was for different stuff. I didn't hear it was for a fake invasion. I didn't really learn about that until I started researching the stuff about what was the Nazi Werner von Braun?
Mm-hmm.
And it was something he predicted.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then the Project Bluebeam, the first I heard about it is when there was that Japanese city or Chinese city in the clouds.
Right.
And that's the first I had heard of it.
Yeah, that was still pretty fascinating photographs, and I don't care what anybody says; those were pretty amazing.
It's happened 3 or 4 times since then too.
Yeah, I know. Pretty amazing photography, and the fact that they are actual, real photographs. Pretty amazing stuff. Our guest tonight, Chad Callek. We're talking about his new film, Two-Face, The Gray. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Chad Callek. We're talking about his new documentary sequel to Sir No Face. It's called Two-Face the Gray. The links for the documentary are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. We've also posted them up in Twitter. And now this is where, for me, it's easy for me to, the fork in the road that is happening here with you. But for you, Chad, this is ufology. This is UFOs. This is aliens. This is ET. This is contact. This is all a whole new area. And there's a part in the documentary, for me, I was like, okay, now we're starting to make a lot of sense here. And it's a tough one for those outside of the community to grasp a hold of and understand. But it is taking Two-Face into the possibility of another area, which is gray. Yes, he's 3.5 feet tall. Yes, but now the possibility of him maybe being a bio android, right? And
which Man, when I read that initially, this possibility, and when I watched that video, I could. You want me to get into how I came across this?
Well, look,
it blew my mind.
I'm telling you, when you went down that road, I was like, okay, here we go. Now this starts to answer a lot of questions. So let's go down this road. What happened?
Well, look, by the end of David Skyfall's explanation, the one thing that the bridge I couldn't cross, I was like, okay, this is all a fascinating story, but where's the Australian connection? Like, this is I thought was about, Two-Face or Sir No-Face. And so, and it's weird. There's some things Daniel just lays out, and some things it's almost like he breadcrumbs it, knowing that I won't believe it unless I find it myself type of stuff.
Right.
And so, I start digging into the most obvious thing that I found in Australia, which dates way back and has had multiple purposes, is the Pine Gap at Alice Springs, which was initially it was labeled a joint space research facility between the CIA and the Australian government. And so I'm like, okay, but no one really knows what it does besides defense, which is a very vague term. So I'm like, but we do know that it's secret and there's all kinds of stuff with the space program that goes, but that doesn't really tell me anything. So I was like, okay, let me keep digging, and I'm basically just watching all these different UFO seminars and just all kinds of stuff in the area. And it's super late at night. I mean, it's probably 3:30, 4 a.m. I'm half asleep, and I had YouTube on, and YouTube just, once one program ends, it just picks another one to start running.
Right.
And it ended up running this, it was a public lecture by Stephen Greer. And in the middle of it, I sit up, and I was like, what did I just hear? And he starts talking about how, reportedly, and he's speaking about this like it is fact. He knows it. He's spoken to the physicist who was a part of the program. Supposedly they're making little grays that are androids that are, bio-nano technology, which is tissue on the outside, robotic on the inside, grays in the Pine Gap, to the degree that these things are coming off
a conveyor belt.
I think he says they're coming off conveyor belts like sausages.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's what he says.
Right.
And I am like, what? So then I start working backwards, and I'm like, okay, that was a thing that started like connecting things. I'm like, all right. So if there is going to be a false flag, fake alien invasion to gain worldwide support to fight. To go to war with another species, which, by the way, presidents have been talking about since Reagan and afterwards, then you would have to do more than cast some images in the sky.
Right.
Like, people would have to see these creatures. So then I started going, okay, well, Pine Gap's is an earshot away from this island in the middle of Sydney. It would make total sense that before you went this route, you would want to know how people react to these things and how these things react to people. And then I started going, oh my God, were they in fact documenting Craig and his team interacting with this thing that they put out there? Because that would make sense. There's connective tissue here in the sense that would explain the 2-year thing. They were willing to let them go forever.
Right.
Until I showed up, and started filming stuff, and they're showing footage and all this stuff, and they shut it down. It would make sense that they were like trying to offer them all the money in the world and buy all their stuff and do all this, right away to ensure that they went there. It also gave them a very plausible story if they ever went public with it, just to make fun of them. Oh, they're ghost hunters. What do they know? They're crazy. But this would give them a real opportunity to see how this thing interacts with people. And I was just like, no freaking way, man. And so, I initially went back to the footage. And I was like, let me go back to this Sir No Face footage and just go frame by frame by frame. And I actually compared it to the footage that was captured, Robert Lear, who captured the Turkish footage,
right?
Which is astonishing footage of this UFO, which you pretty much see grays at the wheel. And so I captured one of the frames, the best frame that you can clearly see that, and I start going frame by frame in the Sir No Face footage. And you get a couple of frames past the frame we usually stopped on because it looked like a face, looking towards the camera. And man, you go a couple frames deeper, and it looks like a gray. I mean, it is like, oh my God. It's just one of those like 20/20 things. In hindsight, you sight and go, how did I miss this? Well, you missed it because you weren't looking. Like, and sometimes the best place to hide things is, out in the open, like right there. And it's just astonishing to me because when I started thinking about this, we know that all governments that are able have been doing false flags forever, whether it was selling, WMDs in Iraq that don't exist to get the public support to go to war. We're talking about the same type of thing here. If there's going to be a real alien invasion, then they're going to sell a fake one to get the world support to go to war.
Well,
and when we say they, what David Skyfall lays out, they being the industrial military complex, the oil reserve companies, I mean, the true power in the world, that presidents have been warning about the industrial military complex. I mean, who was it, Eisenhower or Truman or someone?
Eisenhower.
They came out and said it.
Yes, Eisenhower in his famous speech. And
yeah.
I had
came
brought
right
up,
out and said it. Beware the industrial military complex.
Yep, I brought up years ago when we're talking about blue beam and holographic images and giant spacecraft and an Independence Day type of event, that is going to fly for only so long because people are going to start shooting at it. There are countries around this planet, maybe not the United States, and especially if the United States is the one that's perpetrating this hoax, but there would be countries out there shooting missiles, right? And when the missiles start, flying through the holographic image and landing somewhere else, then it's only going to last so long, probably minutes. Right, it's not going to be this huge, drawn-out situation. You would have to
at some point, you got to have the WMD. You actually have to have it.
You've got to have. You've got to have.
Same thing like with this. At some point, you got to have the alien.
You got to have the boots on the ground. You got to have something physical, and that is something that when you brought this up in Two-Face, I just sat back and went, "Now we're on to something here."
Yep.
Now we're getting close. Very interesting concept. Now, next question. Do you think that Two-Face, whoever he was, do you think that he was alone? Have you analyzed all the other footage?
Well, the thing is, Craig has all the other footage, and I know that he's going back through it because a lot of this really opened his mind up too, and especially now that he's having these, very insane experiences that are threatening. And see, when you said that connection, I felt the same way. I was like, now we're getting somewhere. But it also frightened me more for Craig than anybody else because that is something that I could see. Look, if the word got out that this was going down and that our government or governments were going to start placing bio-nano creatures in the world to set up what would be like that's news worth threatening someone and taking someone out over. You know what I mean? Like if that's real, that's serious information. And that's when I started getting really nervous about what's been going on. Specifically for him, that's when I got in a rush to put this out. But I do know that obviously this has shook Craig up in a big way, which I want to urge everybody, definitely feel free to reach out to him on Instagram and on Facebook. It's WSPR Craig on Instagram, and on Facebook, just search Craig Powell, 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 and he's there, and he's very open to answer questions, and I really urge that people reach out to him to hear his voice on this as well. But he's definitely going over footage and looking at. I mean, this thing has definitely taken a hold of their life, and it's just the most and like I said, in 25 years of doing this, man, there is not a single case that I've come across that is this fascinating and has so many. Like, I keep expecting to find something to just disprove all this stuff, and I'm just not finding it, Jimmy. It's just the opposite. It's finding more and more things that give this legs and give it a reality to it. That just blows my mind. It blows my mind.
I can only imagine how many cameras with footage in it that has been viewed, but it's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours where you have to sit and painstakingly until your eyes are red, look at all of this, and just like Sir No Face, Two-Face was missed the first time around, right? And you go back and you catch it. And if there is a second piece or third in here, it's really gonna cause some alarm.
Oh, big time. And again, I think we talked about this a lot. I said, Craig, as well as I do that when it comes to reviewing footage, nobody's completely militant about it. I mean, I go, Craig, you could have yawned. If you would have yawned at the time that No Face peeped around the corner, you'd have missed it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You could have got a drink of water and you'd have missed it. So you're right. How much stuff is on there? Because the one thing about all the evidence clips that are, in Sir No Face, and are all over the place in Two-Face, is it is just astonishing footage. Like when you want to talk about reactions and the lights are going off and you could hear the people in the room and their voices and their expressions and just, people are freaking out, and the clear thing about, and this is what I keep going back to, every time I think something's too insane, I'm like, there's no way, that's crazy. I go back to the fact that Sir No Face isn't crazy, that's on film. Like, I know that's real. I know that is not Craig, it is not a child, it is not a human being. I know that is real. So nothing is more crazy than that. So anything else that I come across, that's the one thing that I'm really kind of learning in this ufology side is, man, every time you think something is too far out there, you start seeing, I was just watching this thing the other night, just 'cause I'm fascinated about the rings of Saturn, some spaceship that's making Saturn's rings or something. It was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. And then I was just like, whoa. But then I started seeing these photos. I'm just going, what am I looking at?
Right.
It's just fascinating stuff, man.
There's another element to this, though, is, this show, a little bit different from Coast. In that Coast, it's not 600 some, plus stations here in the United States, but that's a United States phenomenon, coast to coast. Fade to Black is worldwide, and our audiences in Canada and the UK and over across Europe is huge, but our audience in Australia is ginormous. We have a huge Australian audience, and they're listening right now, and their reaction to what we are saying, okay, all right, but they have to deal with the issues of Pine Gap just like we deal with the issues of Area 51.
Right.
And, Pine Gap is right there. It's very public. It's not accessible. Australia, first off, is ginormous, and right in the middle of the country, seemingly in the middle of nowhere, is Pine Gap, and it's not easy to get to, and it's isolated. But the mystery of Pine Gap is something that, like I said, they deal with on a daily basis. And then this aspect comes in. We've got this amazing footage of Two-Face or Sir No Face, Cockatoo Island right there. This is in their backyard. and suggesting all of this is something that the Australian audience is going to go back. They're going to listen to this, and they're going to be talking about it. It's now out in the public in Australia because of this show and what you are talking about.
Well, and that's spectacular, and that was my goal in getting this out as fast as possible. And to the Australian audience that's listening, as Jimmy said, the link is on your webpage. It's on Vimeo On Demand. If you haven't seen it as Sir No Face, you could also watch that on Vimeo On Demand. It's just vimeo.com/on-demand/Sir No Face. The Australian audience, please watch this and weigh in. Definitely weigh in, because I know as much research as I've done, as much research as Craig has done. I'm just a firm believer in crowdsourcing information and sharing it and getting to the bottom of this. There's a lot we have figured out. There's even more that we don't. And we definitely, this is an ongoing investigation, So I'm fascinated by all of it. I do have a real concern for Craig and his family. And I got to speak to their bravery. I mean, even the other night, the last time I spoke to them, I was just like, guys, we can, if we can stop this. Like, if you guys are really, that terrified that, someone can, some real bad stuff can happen, then you let me know, and Craig and Nikki, I mean, their stance is just that, of course, every bone in your body just wants to walk away from potential harm, but at the same time, it's like, it's once the toothpaste is out, you can't put it back in. You know what I mean? It doesn't go away. It's out. So it's never going to go away. So the commitment needs to be just truth, just to find out what is going on. And there's too many weird things that are happening that coincide with this story and the story of Skyfall. You brought the Elon Musk photo. That was the first thing I thought when I saw that, is, man, this is exactly what Skyfall is talking about.
Are you still being followed here in Los Angeles?
Well, see, that stopped the second someone said on the phone, the next time drive them to the police station, then hop out. But what's funny is, the following day after he said that is when the phone stuff started happening, and that's still going on.
We're gonna do a little bit of overtime, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about the phone stuff specifically. So we'll deal with that in a second. But when it comes to this is what for me is the most fascinating part about all of this. When you're doing ghost hunting and you're doing paranormal stuff, and you're out there, American Ghost Hunters and Paranormal State, you're out there doing all that stuff. You're not, your phones aren't tapped, your cars aren't being followed, your computers aren't goofing up. None of that stuff happens. But as the second you dip your toe into the UFO world, craziness starts, and it makes you wonder, why is it, if UFOs don't exist, right? If none of this is real, then why are you so concerned about it? Why is this craziness going down in my life? It doesn't make sense. It's like a real-time paradox.
Right. Well, the thing I used to say, I've been really fortunate on the UFO side to have a great audience that's brought me around the world to speak at universities and all kinds of stuff. And I used to always say to people, first question would be like, aren't you scared when you go into a haunted house or a haunted location? My answer is always the same. I'm not scared of the dead. I'm scared of the living. I mean, the dead ain't going to hurt me, man, but the living people are weird, and they have crazy abilities. And, one thing that's demonstrated very well in Two-Face the Gray is, man, human beings and mankind, we're monsters. I mean, we are monsters to our planet, to each other. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, that's where
you in that capacity.
That's where you and I part ways. I can go out. I have no issues. UFO lands. Hey, Jimmy, you want to go for a ride? I'm on the ship, and I'm taking off. I have no issues with Men in Black. You know what I got issues with? I got issues with Waverly. I got issues with Alta Loma Hospital. You think I'm going in there after dark in the complete blackness, walking down one of those hallways? It ain't happening, man.
Yeah.
No,
I think I just grew up with it. It's just my roller coaster, yeah.
No, I'm not going.
I get it.
I'm not spending the night in the Lizzie Borden house. It ain't happening, man. I'm serious, too. I'm being very, very, very serious here. There is something about you. I mean, you walk up to Waverly and you just look at it from the outside.
It's terrifying.
And my very soul is saying, you're not going in there. I'll send all of you in, and you guys tell me about it later. But I'm not going to go in. I'm not going in. No, I am not, man. I am not.
Yeah, I think that stuff's startling, but I guess it's not real fear to me. I think I definitely, get jumpy like anybody else, but I just don't have real fear. When I look in my rearview mirror and the same cars are everywhere I go for a week, and I don't know who it is, when my email is clearly getting hacked, when my phone calls are clearly being monitored, that's when I start getting scared. That's when I start getting freaked out. And, man, you're right. It never happened, ever, until we started going down this road.
Man, I remember we're going to head towards a break, but back when my chair keeps lowering and everybody's watching me on camera raise my chair. I got to do it again, man. It just constantly keeps... Oh, man, it's frustrating. Anyway, years ago, let's go back to 2008, and all of the paranormal shows are on cable. And I'm falling asleep on my couch to one of these shows. It doesn't matter, and it's some marathon. And I swear, I had the craziest nightmare dreams, man. I'm being chased by ghosts and wolves. I'm getting scratched. I'm climbing trees. I'm freaking out. I'm waking up. I'm sweating. And I'm like, man, I got to go back to sleep and get back into this nightmare. This is awesome. And I'm into it, right? But UFO shows don't do that to me. They don't. Really? They don't. That paranormal
Well, you know
stuff.
what's weird? I'll say this. I'm not necessarily afraid of the aliens or the UFOs. It's the fact that Greer's two partners got cancer when he simultaneously did, and they're gone now.
Right.
It's the fact that this young UFO guy, you probably know his name, I was reading about, he had some news, and they find him dead with black fluid coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, that's a famous case. Dr. Carla Turner,
Yeah, like that's the stuff that scares me. Something tells me that if the aliens can get here and they have that kind of technology, something tells me that they had some kind of broad awakening.
Right.
And they're probably not the thing to fear. The thing to fear is probably, the animals on this planet that let off 2,000 nukes. That's probably the thing to fear. And so that's more my concern is, the power, what do they say, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's true.
Yes, it's very true. It's very true.
Right.
Well,
and that's what I fear.
A few years ago, Rita and I, we get home, we're in bed, and we turn on the TV. We've got some food and stuff, and at the foot of our bed, at the other end of the room, is a master bathroom, and in that master bath area, there's a walk-in closet to the right, then there's the sinks and stuff, but there's a separate room with a door that's got the toilet in it. I don't know what you call it, but it's like a bathroom inside of a bathroom, right? And there's a door.
Yeah.
But in there, and we keep that door shut for a couple of reasons, but because we keep the window on the outside of it open, so we keep the door closed. Anyway, but the toilet seat in there is like sticky. It doesn't move. Right. So, in other words, if you lift the lid or close the lid, you have to do it yourself. If you did it halfway and let it go, the lid would, be halfway. Right. You have to.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's really, really sticky. It's tight. So anyway, so the lid on that toilet stays open. It's not like other homes where, or other bathrooms in our house, all the lids are closed. But in that one, the thing is sticky, so it just stays open, right? So anyway, Rita and I are sitting in bed, and I swear to you, Chad, that thing goes poof and falls down. and Rita and I knew, and she's looking at it. She goes, so King Church, you gonna go check that out? I was like, no. I don't want to go in there, open up that door, and see that lid down. I'm not. No.
Oh, man.
And,
well, I have some places I could take you that would blow your mind.
Man. Well, you know what? It'll be blown from the outside. I'm not going to go inside. Let's take a break right here, Chad. Let's come back, because when we come back after this break, one of the coolest parts, and there's some amazing footage and stuff that is in Two-Face the documentary. But for me, it was the phone calls and those recordings. So we will be back after this short break. We're going to talk about that. It's very, very compelling. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Chad Callek is the guest. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Chad Callek, talking about his new documentary, a sequel to Sir No Face. It's called Two-Face the Gray. The links to it are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. You can click on Chad Callek in his bio. The links are there. We've also got him up in Twitter. And another part of the documentary now is the phone conversations. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. I'll say this, Chad. If I'm having a conversation on my cell phone with somebody out there, and I'm talking about my dogs, I can talk for 3 hours, nothing happens. I'm talking with somebody out there, and we get into UFOs and strange stuff. My phone starts acting funny, and we laugh about it. But it happens every single day. Every single day on this broadcast. And by the way, a couple of times during this broadcast, your phone got funky at a couple of key moments, and I found that interesting. I didn't want to say anything. I don't know if you were hearing it, but it was out there, and I know the posts, and I'm going to get email, are going to comment about those sections of the broadcast tonight. And you're talking to us on a landline tonight, not on a cell phone, and so why would that interference occur on a landline? Again, interesting. So here we are. And so when people, guests and so forth, talk about their phone interference, okay, it's great. I understand it. But it's another thing when you talk about it and you've got the calls recorded. And that's what you did here in Two-Face the Gray. You have the actual phone calls and you present them. How many of these phone calls like this happened?
Oh gosh. Between Thomas, Justin, my producer, and Craig, 100.
100.
Yeah, I mean, like, and the thing is, it was exactly what you said. It was when we would get into some heavy, thing about this case. And the weird thing was, and you see this in Craig's response, when we're talking on one of those calls, is the second we would talk about noticing it, it would stop.
And
so
now I want you to describe what we're talking about here. You guys are having your conversation, and what happens?
Yeah, Craig called first, and I've become close with his family and his two boys, and we first started talking about his boys for a little bit and everything that's going on within his life. And then we get into a conversation about some just recent stuff with Daniel David Skyfall and some of this weather modification stuff we're talking about in this machine footage you sent me. And right as we start doing it, I'm talking to Craig, and I'm just kind of yapping off at the mouth. And at first, it's there, but I don't hear it because I'm in my own thought. And Craig's like, "Do you hear that?" And you could hear this. I mean, it's a massive beep and this echo, like an echoey beep. And it's loud as can be. And I'm like, oh my God, I do hear that. And I've been using the phone now for, I'm 42 years old, man. I've never heard anything like this on a phone. And we're like, listen to it. We're talking back and forth, and you could hear it. And then I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you hear it in your ear? He's like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, I can hear it right now. And then it stops. And Craig's like, it stopped now. I'm like, it totally did stop, didn't it? And it did the second we started talking about it. So we started testing that later with not only Craig, but Justin and Thomas as well. And when we would talk about it or get into something heavy, it would start, and we would let it go for as long as it would go. And the second we would start going, yep, they're monitoring us now, like you could hear it, it would stop almost every time. So it's like, how can this happen with such consistency and have it not be, what it is? And again, you bring up a very good point. Like I say, you could talk about your puppies forever, and that won't happen. It never happened ever before I got involved in this. And it goes beyond just the phones. Like I said, I have probably had to change, I'm not even kidding when I say this, I probably had to change my email password a dozen times since I started making this film. Before that, I've never had to change it.
Right.
I mean, like a dozen times. I just go to sign in, and it'd be like, doesn't accept it. What? I'm like, yeah, what? So I had to get through the whole process again and do it. I mean, it was like in any and every way that you could, monitor somebody, it was clearly happening. And, you could hear Craig and I's response, and like you said, having these phone calls recorded and presented in the film, so we're not just talking about it, so people could actually hear what's going on.
Yeah, it's so cool to hear your conversation going on and these beeps and how you guys get totally sidetracked and derailed listening to these beeps. And as soon as you start talking about it, the beeps stop. It's brilliant, man. And to have you, how do I have the vision to record these calls so you can actually catch the moment that it actually goes down. Like I said, it's just a story if somebody talks about this, and it's great. Right. I'm into it. Okay, I get it. It's a whole nother dynamic when you capture it in real time and you hear your guys' reaction to it, and then you hear the beeping stop. It's a fascinating part of the documentary. Yeah, and it's the thing that one of the hardest things about making this documentary was the committal to we just document everything. When the car's following you can see me wrestling with my phone, trying to film this car through my, reverse, mirror, and trying to drive at the same time and doing it. And the same thing with the phone. Like, I tried to keep at least one GoPro going in my house at all times, just because you just don't know. You don't know when or what is going to happen. And, thankfully we were able to capture some of this. So like you said, so that you're not just someone telling a story. And even for everything that we've captured, that's why it was so important when Craig sent me the photo that I showed you. You say someone's outside my house with a glowing mask watching my house, that's one thing. Seeing the photo is another. And now, what about the raw footage of Sir No Face, of Two-Face the Gray? Is this out there in the public domain? Are you going to release it? Where is the raw footage? I mean, it could be, but it's also released in the film, meaning that, like, whenever I do replays, if you look at Sir No Face, whenever, like, we'll present it, like when you first see Sir No Face, like in the Sir No Face documentary, there's obviously sound design and color and things like that are going on as a presentation piece. But the replay that we always do, I usually do 2 to 3 replays, is always the raw footage, just as is, out the camera. So we can totally release it separately, but it'd be the same exact thing that you're looking at in the film. There's other researchers out there like Mark D'Antonio, who's a really good analyst, but there's a lot of video guys in ufology that have the credentials. Would you be interested in releasing the raw footage to them for their analysis? Oh, yeah. Well, Craig would have to, but I'm sure he would be. I mean, if it was up to me, 100%. 100%. I'm sure Craig released it to me, so I don't think he'd have any issue releasing it to them whatsoever. Now, there's I wanted to go back and discuss something that you brought up, which is the Roger Lear Turkish films, and when those videos, which are days of footage, I should say. And I watched them. I just watched them and watched them. Now, I do believe this is my take. I believe that the footage is real that Lear captured. 1, 2. What it definitely appears to be. It doesn't look human. Whatever is in the window. and there's 2 or 3 of them, I believe, but the main one that's up in front, and when you see him kind of move a little bit too as well, almost jumped out of my skin.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right, and when you do the analysis of that window shot from the Lear footage and compare that to Two-Face, the gray, the similarity is astounding. It's like whoa. But okay, let's take this. Let's back up a step here. If we are suggesting that there's a possibility that Two-Face could be some bioengineered android, right? A robot on the inside and something of organic nature grown on the outside. Okay. It would also and testing you guys, right? Testing Craig, testing the reaction. It could suggest the same thing that happened to Lear, in that they've got an alien that is up in this window. They're shooting it at a distance, and they're getting the same reaction. They're getting the same footage. They're releasing that out into the public domain. There is that similarity between Lear's footage and Craig's footage that speak of the same thing.
Yeah, well, it isn't. If I believe Lear's footage came, I believe, I might be wrong on this, so I'm not, UFO community, don't kill me. But I believe it came almost 1 year to the day, right, after Jansen Yalman filmed it first.
Yes.
There was, I think his name is Jansen Yalman. He was a security guard that filmed it first. And then Robert Lear went back, I think it was a year to the day, to the same spot with a better camera and got better footage of it. And the fact that it reoccurred at the same time leads me to believe that, again, it was something sent out there. You know what I mean? Like someone put it out there for a reason. Because it is shocking and astounding footage. I mean, I might be off on that, but I'm pretty sure it was either a year later or within a day or two of a year later. Did you know that it was filmed first before by that Yalman Yalman guy?
Totally. And Roger went back to Turkey. It was a year later. They got there on the coast and they set up the telephoto lenses and started shooting out over the ocean, and they captured again.
Right. Which when things are happening at exact times, it's kind of like when Bob Lazar is saying every Wednesday they go up and fly. You know what I mean? So if it's like a year later at the same time, it's back up there again. It implies to me that it is more than likely something either man-made, or if it's not, it's the real thing. Either way, it's fascinating that the comparison between the two was just mind-blowing to me. And it's just the government thing is so weird in this case. The Australian government's response to us, the film, is so weird. Them reaching out to Craig and doing it under lock and key is so weird. The timing is so weird. Globally, what's going on with... I've always felt that disclosure would be a slow leak and not a bomb going off. You know what I mean? That it would be a very slow thing. That was one of the first things I did think when everyone was like, why does Tom DeLonge... Why are all these guys backing Tom DeLonge? And my wife and I were talking about it, and I said, well, if someone was going to tell you that aliens are real and they're visiting us or they're coming here, do you want that delivered from Tom DeLonge, the funny guy from Blink-182, or do you want to hear that from Mad Dog Mattis? You know, like the public's going to want to hear it from the funny guy. So there was just so many things to me that were really kind of bizarre, and just knowing how the media works, and when all of a sudden the DoD is releasing UFO videos, you have to ask why.
How do you feel about yourself now, Chad? Because you've been the go-to guy for the paranormal for so many years, the networks and the feature films, and now you're in the UFO community. How do you look at yourself?
I look at myself as a guest. right now. I mean, and a proud one. I mean, like I'm just as fascinated as everybody else is. Like I don't want to make it like I'm a complete fool to the world of ufology. I'm not, but I'm certainly not what I would consider an expert in it. But I view myself now as a documentarian that came across an incredible case, and the public said, take another look, and I think maybe someone with a stronger ego would have stomped his foot and said, no, I'm right. But I'm not, my goal in being a documentarian is to follow the facts and expose as much truth as I possibly can. And it's just taken me down this road in which there are some massive questions that are unanswered and a lot of things that are pointing towards a direction. So to ignore it would be counterproductive as to what I'm doing as a filmmaker. But as far as the ufology world, so far everyone has been incredibly cool. I've had some standoffishness from a few people that are kind of like, what are you doing over here? Like that type of thing, But for the most part, everyone's been really, really cool. And I think when people watch the film, they see that I'm not trying to make it about me and my knowledge and I'm the expert. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to do that at all. I'm literally just trying to present the case as it came to me, and hopefully work with people to continue to find more answers.
I wanted to ask you this earlier, and so I'm going to get it in before the end of the show here. And thank you for doing this overtime with us. It's just a fantastic conversation. But 2, 3, 4 years ago, Ghost Hunter Chad, right?
Yeah.
Had you even heard the word disclosure? Did you know anything about it?
Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. I tell you what, I got interested interested about 4 or 5 years ago through that the case in O'Hare. With where Dan Aykroyd swept up the footage.
Yes.
And I did a short documentary just about on that case, and it wasn't about the world as a whole of the UFO. And then I believe I've had one sighting, and I did a short 15-minute film on that. That was just about that sighting. It was when I was filming a music video out here in LA, and I saw something over the Catalina Channel. And then through research, I learned locally that a lot of people see UFOs and USOs between here and the Catalina Channel.
Mm-hmm.
But that's beyond those specific cases, I would say my knowledge was the same as most people. I knew about Roswell, and I never knew about all the heavy-handed different conspiracies within the conspiracy. I never knew about there was supposed to be more than one Roswell thing that went down. 4 or 5 years ago, I had never heard of Blue Beam. I had never heard of fake alien invasion or anything like that. I certainly never thought that I would be making a film anything this heavy-handed into the world of ufology.
You cover in Two-Face what I enjoyed about it is that your coverage of the UFO phenomenon from so many different angles was pretty good, but also a little bit innocent. In that you are going into this trying to investigate the information as it is coming in, but you didn't know a whole lot about any of this. And so from somebody that, of a novice position is getting into some very heavy subjects very, very quickly.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think what you're seeing in there is, as someone who is very well versed in the spiritual side, I have to consider that if tomorrow somebody just said, I want to jump into the world of ghosts and entities and stuff like that, there would be a lot initially that they would think was insane that they would come to learn over time is not so insane, right? So I had to also consider that when I was learning all this stuff and researching of all this information, I had to like keep that open mind. Like, this sounds so crazy. Like, the first time you hear the Admiral Byrd story of Operation High Jump, and you're reading, supposedly he had a documentary and he went to Middle Earth or Agartha or something, and he met with these people, and it's just like, you're going, this is so far out there. How could this be? But then you start kind of paring away of what is more than likely myth versus reality, and even the reality that you're left with is incredible. So I really just wanted to like not overtly dismiss anything until I saw it through. Just because I know if people came into the paranormal side, there were things that they would, start talking about different classifications of ghosts, and whether you're talking about the demonic, negatives, or shadow people, or whatever, that it would be confusing. If not, it would sound crazy to someone who is not heavily involved. So I really did try to like honor the field when I went through it, as to not give any kind of even if I thought something was completely, just totally crazy, I wanted to honor the fact that maybe I just don't know the whole story yet, And I think that's probably part of the instance that you're seeing, is that I'm really just trying to source through the material that was presented to me from Skyfall, from the Tattoo Spaceman, and then also from my own research, and try to just tell an honest story. And the one thing I did get from watching a couple UFO documentaries is the ufology has some strong personalities in it. And there seems to be, like, to me, there seems to be like a couple different groups. There's a group of people who kind of want to work within a community to come up with an answer. And then there's a group of people that believe they know, that believe they have the answers. And if you don't like fall into that world, then they're going to have a problem with you. That was kind of my take from it.
Well, you're spot on.
Yeah, and I definitely don't want to be that guy that's like, if you don't believe what I believe, you are ridiculous, because, man, what I've learned about the paranormal field is every answer you get spawns a dozen new questions.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing in ufology. It's the very same thing. But thank you for the documentary. It's amazing. I highly recommend it, and the links are up to it now. And is there going to be? I'm sure you're working on it. Is there going to be a Two-Face Part 3?
There will be a trilogy. It's ongoing and it's happening now. And I have a GoPro running on me right now. And you just never know when it's going to happen or what is going to happen. But you've already seen one of the photos from what has occurred, and the story is ongoing. I definitely have to get back over there, which people understand when they watch the film as to why. But there has to be an answer to this. There has to be some sort of resolve, and that may not mean necessarily an ending, but at least an understanding as to what is going on, because there's too many answers that lead to too many unanswered things. So we definitely got to go where the truth takes us, man. And for the people that are listening in the audience, please see this documentary. It is one of the most honest things you'll ever see from a very real investigation, about very real people. And I think everyone will see that as well. So, and Jimmy, I can't thank you enough for the time. You were the first guy that, I messaged, and I thought you would give it an honest look. And I super appreciate everything you've done, man. It means a lot to me.
Thank you so much, Chad. And, I got to give you my best piece of advice. Keep rolling that rock uphill, because that's keep rolling the rock uphill, because that's ufology, man.
That's a great piece of advice.
Welcome to the community, Chad. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll be talking soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Talk to you soon.
Chad Callek, and the film is called Two-Face the Gray, and like I said, it's very simple. go to jimmychurchradio.com. The links are right there. Go and check it out. Check out Sir No Face too as well. Right? Part 1 and Part 2. All right. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you to Chad Callek. Tomorrow night, Linda Moulton Howe, right here on Fade to Black. It's broadcast owned and copyrighted 2019 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. It's very simple. Until tomorrow night, everybody be safe. Go Backley Tappy.